Hi everyone, Mark Merrill with Firm. This is part 3 of our candidate series on Susan Collins, Maine Senator for the People. This is the third of a brief series of candidate profiles in Maine politics, as today we focus on current incumbent U.S. Senator Susan Collins. Before we continue on her profile, Firm will present the unbiased news report, believe it or not, about her recent statements on her benign essential tremor that she has been dealing with, and a comparison also to what challenger Graham Platner deals with his PTSD and disability. Here's that report.
Watched U.S. Senator Susan Collins can see that there is a subtle tremor at times with her voice and her hands and her head.
So for the first time in 30 years, Senator Collins is discussing her neurological condition publicly. Our Phil Hirschkorn has more.
A few weeks ago, after Senator Susan Collins shoveled some ceremonial dirt to break ground on a new firehouse in Sanford, I asked her, at age 73, about her health. She pointed to her streak of nearly 10,000 consecutive votes, not one sick day in 30 years.
Anyone who follows me around the state would also not have any questions about that.
But if you've watched Collins over the years, you may have noticed a slight trembling in her hands and her head. Now, for the first time, the senator is publicly describing her medical condition in an exclusive interview with NewsCenter Maine.
What I have is an extremely common condition that is called a benign essential tremor. I have had it for the entire time that I have served in the United States Senate. It has absolutely no impact on my ability to do my job or on how I feel each day.
Collins is confident, if elected again in November, in her ability to serve another 6 years.
If you talk to anybody in Washington, they will tell you that I am the hardest working person that they have ever worked with. And the fact is, I've never missed a single vote in all the time that I've been honored to represent the people of Maine. I think that's pretty good evidence of the fact that I am blessed with great health.
Like Collins, about 5% of adults over 40 have some form of essential tremor, and 20% of those over 65, according to Dr. Reese Cosgrove, an expert on movement disorders and chief of the Division of Functional Neurosurgery at Mass General Brigham in Boston.
It tends to slowly get worse over time. It's not associated with other neurologic impairments, so it's not associated with cognitive decline or memory decline. It's not associated with Alzheimer's disease. It's not Parkinson's disease.
Fair to say that this is primarily just a physical condition and not a mental condition at all.
Absolutely. These tremors can be both socially and professionally embarrassing.
But not incapacitating.
Not at all.
The essential tremor is treatable with medication, which the senator takes.
And policy can be changed.
41-year-old Democratic challenger Graham Platner also faces questions about his health.
I'm lucky enough that in my 4 combat tours, I was blown up enough times that the VA thinks I deserve health care.
The Veterans Administration gave Platner a 100% disability rating. I asked him about that in our first interview last October.
I've got a couple herniated discs. My shoulder's a wreck. My knees bother me. The VA gives me physical therapy for those those things. I was also diagnosed with PTSD.
Platner told me he collects a monthly disability payment around $4,800 a month, even though he earns a living as an oyster farmer. I followed up in an interview last November.
100% disability rating doesn't mean 100% you can't work.
No, it does not at all.
And a lot of veterans like you.
There are a lot of disabled combat or just disabled vets at 100% who still work
and have income and so forth.
It is a completely it's a very normal thing.
Given that 100% disability rating, people will hear that. Will that in any way limit your ability to be a United States Senator?
No.
Collins says the same thing about her diagnosis of benign essential tremor.
It's inconvenient at times, but that's all.
In Portland, Phil Hirschkorn for NewsCenter Maine.
So, ladies and gentlemen, I think that pretty much clears up what's going on between the pundits on both sides of the aisle, whether it be Susan Collins or her challenger now, Graham Platner. As we move along, ladies and gentlemen, we've got some more information on the accomplishments, of course, of Susan Collins, which we will bring to you here shortly. And we do thank the auspices and the crew at NewsCenter for that report in this particular case. Nice to get some honest answers for a change. And we look forward to having you as our source for any additional news that you may want to see covered. Contact us anytime here at Firm, folks. fairnessinreportingmedia@gmail.com, fairnessinreportingmedia@gmail.com. Now, in the meantime, let's get right down to brass tacks again, ladies and gentlemen, as we show you here some more accomplishments of Senator Collins as we get right down to it to wrap up this, as we said, abbreviated report on her, but also three candidates that we've done already, Bobby Charles, as well as Graham Platner, and now Susan Collins. Now, Ms. Collins has had quite a stellar career, folks. I think most of you know that if you've lived in Maine most of your life, as I have, or have followed the news on her and her service in the United States Congress. But right here, folks, we're going to highlight some of the things that she has helped Mainers accomplish. Right here, we've got cancer diagnosis, devastating. Maine's leaders must fight to research to find the cure. Now, Senator Collins, it says down here, secured official funding for cancer screenings and cancer equipment upgrades. And she also led efforts to increase funding for cancer research by over $125 million this year to help Mainers like Ellie in the picture up here in the fight against this terrible disease. So that's just one in particular, folks. Another one, we'll certainly put these up as quickly as we can to talk about them. Next up is for not only cancer, folks, but also to have families, all kinds of Maine families with different types of issues deserve access to quality health care overall. So, she has talked to a Ferguson family that needed assistance with their son's type 1 diabetes diagnosis. Her policies are helping the Ferguson family and many more across Maine get the critical care that they need. After the meeting, my wife said her husband when she had been seen by a physician, she felt heard, and also with Mrs. Collins, and she felt like we had a powerful advocate on our side from Poland, Maine. So that's just an issue right there, folks, with a child with type 1 diabetes that was going through something, and Susan Collins was there to answer the call. Next up, another issue of autism. It's been very, very much in the news lately. Research funding and caregiver support are critical for Mainers with autism. She fights, Mrs. Collins does, for parents of children with autism by advocating for a $2 billion in autism research funding and expanding educational awareness of the autism disease. Rachel Williams was even documented here from Farmington, Maine, saying, "From one mom who's living it every day, thank you, Senator Collins, for standing with us and for continuing to be a voice for children and families who need one." And one last one we have here, folks, as we move along here, is our last series of candidate profiles, as we're getting closer to June 9th all the time. Ms. Collins also, as we just mentioned, of course, talking about overall health care and making sure that Mainers get the health care that they need. A little bit better for sound purposes. High quality health care is crucial. And we're going to point out something Bobby Charles mentioned in his video announcement, if you recall, folks. The city of Waterville, Maine has been hit quite hardly, devastatingly, at the closing of Inland Hospital, Northern Light Inland Hospital, over a year ago. 80 million, millions of dollars have been sunk into that hospital and been renovated when it was first moved into and opened in the greater Waterville area many, many years ago as Waterville Osteopathic Hospital, and was changed over when Northern Light took over. But that's not Northern Light's problem. That is not. That's Janet Mills' problem. When she came into office, Maine Care fraud was what the devastating news was to most hospitals, even one in Pittsfield called Sebasticook County. And it's sad. We only have one hospital in a city of close to 18,000 people when we used to have 3. No thanks to the deflectocrats, especially Janet Mills. We've got to stop the nonsense and the fraud. But anyway, back to Ms. Collins. Ms. Collins is advocating for policies and funding to improve the health and quality of life in Maine families, fighting, as we said, type 1 diabetes, cancer patients, and also the children with autism, as you saw, as pretty much this a wrap-up of just the many things that she's dealing with, but specifically close to her heart, as she is now 73 and dealing with an illness, but she handles it quite well, as you can see in the video we just presented. But also, she's been steady, as you also heard probably in her announcement, that she never misses a call to Congress when it's in session and votes need to be taken. And is also high up on the Appropriations Committee in the United States Congress in the Senate. But as always, folks, in the meantime, keep track of us. Put us in your list of connections. We're working on getting an application, or an app, so we can be a little bit more accessible to you. But in the meantime, we are firm. I am Mark Merrill, Fairness in Reporting Media. And you can get our podcasts, such as this one right here, anytime, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Initially, to contact us, though, is right here at the bottom. fairnessinreportingmedia@gmail.com, fairnessinreportingmedia@gmail.com. We'd also like to hear from you in regard to any ideas on topics that you feel need to have more attention. Also, we are on Substack, YouTube, and Twitter or X. Pray for our state. Pray for the primaries coming up, folks. Do your research and check out all the things that Susan Collins has done in the background on her opponent. And also, let's look to securing and restoring the state of Maine in 2026 when the November elections come around. Everyone stay safe. Peace to all.